Shop Lowe's and save big during our Memorial Day savings event. You'll find great deals like up to 30% off select appliance special values. That's up to 30% off some of the best brand name appliances to finally help make that dream kitchen come true. All projects have a starting point. Start with Lowe's. Valid May 18, 2017 through June 7, 2017. U.S. only. Exclusions apply. See store for details.
Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot. Oh my. It's just another night for Supernatural Girlz. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here's your host, paranormal researcher Patricia Baker, on the one, the only Supernatural Girlz.
Welcome back, everyone, to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girlz Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my co-host all the way from sunny Tucson, Patricia Kirkman. PK, how you doing tonight?
Fabulous, absolutely fabulous. We both have almost identical weather. How about that for a change?
I love it. I love it. I am basking in 80-degree temperatures. I couldn't be happier.
I guess not. For you, that's a miracle.
Not kidding. It happened overnight. We're loving it.
And
so tell me, what is going on with the numbers? We've got some crazy stuff, but you know what? Before we even go there, I should tell everybody, because we've been having a lot of questions about how to watch us as we talk with each other and our guests. Good. And this is how to do it. If you want to see us, you go to irnchat.com. That's irnchat.com. And when you get there, go to the menu and click on Tube, T-U-B-E. You'll be able to see us. How about it? You'll be able to see PK in Tucson, me in the Berkshires, and hopefully soon our guest, who is the alien
Lost
hunter.
In space.
Yeah, we've been trying to get him on the air with us and have a bit of a challenge, but we've got a great producer, Joe Champion, and he is going to work it out. So Daryl Sims is an alien hunter. Oh, my God. We got so much to talk about with him tonight. Can't wait to get him on.
That is for sure. I can't believe his adventures. Woo!
I know. 38 years or some odd years of that. Wow. He's got a lot to tell us. A lot. So tell us about numbers, PK. What's happening? The world is still here.
Well,
so
yes.
That's good.
In spite of us, not because of sometimes.
I know.
Thank God. But yeah, I think one of the things that we need to look at this month is that it is a 6 universal month. That being said, it's all about home, family, neighbors, wanting everything to be perfect. Well, as we well know, that's not the name of the game, but that's what we'd like to have happen. So get involved with things going on in your community, because this is a perfect time to do so. Look at what's available to you when it comes to alternatives, alternative medicine, alternative thought functions, alternatives making way for new things to take place. But unless asked for advice, please do yourself a favor and zip it, because unasked for advice is going to blow up in the face of the one that does it. And we don't want anybody being bruised and hurt out there. We have some nice things to happen.
You know, and also you have shared with us this great advice before.
Whether we like it or not. This is like
an ongoing, for the last several months, we've been hearing this. Don't give it unless you're asked. Okay.
Well, but you know what happens at different times? With the universal month, it changes every month. But this month particularly, because it's a calendar 5, which means there's major changes taking place. But universally, it's all about everybody wanting perfection. And we're hearing that in the chants in the street about our government and about things going on. Everybody's uptight about what isn't perfect. But we have to allow it to be the best it can be, not the best we think it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
Work on getting rid of some of this dead wood a piece at a time.
That's right. Well, hey, I'm up for that. I like getting rid of dead wood, make room for the new.
That's for
Now,
sure.
we have been experiencing a bit of a mystery with you.
Mm-hmm.
And in your room, we have watched a very clear atmosphere turn totally foggy.
Right.
And this has gone on for what, 3 weeks? 2 weeks?
3 weeks so far.
3 weeks
Three
so far.
weeks.
So we're going to watch closely to see if this
Ay, ay, ay.
happens again tonight. Now,
Well-
last week when we had Matthew on talking about Bigfoot, we also picked up on a couple of faces that showed up in the fog.
Right.
Remember that? And one of them looked
Yes.
like Bigfoot. And so that was on your Facebook page and mine. If anybody wants to take a look, go look at that Facebook page, Supernatural Girlz on Facebook. It's pretty amazing. So
I
it's
think one of the
exciting
things
to
that
see.
are strange about this is when we watched the fog coming in, the first time it happened, I looked outside and it was clear. I looked at my back of my room. The room is totally clear. It's only on the screen that it's showing it as fog. And
That is so weird.
so I have a shaman sitting here who's going to see what's going on, if he can pick up anything from it that way.
Well, we're going to expect a full report later on after the show's over, and we'll be happy to share that with our audience because it is a very strange phenomenon. And in my room, there wasn't too much going on in terms of phenomenon. It was the week before that we
Right.
had, I believe, the 3 little aliens sitting behind me. So now that we're talking about aliens again tonight, we'll see what happens. But last week when we were talking about Bigfoot, now remember Dr. J was talking
Right.
about how the Bigfoot called out his name.
Right.
And he played that audio for us. And you could clearly hear the Bigfoot saying, Matt, Matt, Matt.
Exactly.
Remember?
It was strange.
Amazing. Now, for our little newscast tonight, we have a story from Malaysia. And in this story, what has happened is people heard their names being called. The residents of a village in the Bachok district on the peninsular side of the country. They reported seeing 2 large hairy creatures that talk and actually address them by name. The creatures are 6 feet tall, and the reports refer to them as Bigfoot. Are they Sasquatch, Yeti? What are they? I think they're Bigfoot. And certainly hearing from Dr. J last week about his name being called, I totally think that they can call somebody's name. And so these medical personnel heard this from this 50-year-old person who was there living in her mother's house, her late mother's house, when she claimed she was approached by 2 of the creatures that appeared to have come down from a tree in the backyard. And unfortunately, they seem to have other things on their mind other than just talking to her. They wanted to be close to her, and she was not interested, and she wanted to get away from those things. So I guess she was kind of afraid, but it's very interesting based on what we heard last week. I mean, this is what Dr. J said. Now, Dr. J has no fear
No, he does not.
of the Bigfoot, no.
But this is something that I kind of chuckled at a little bit because the 6 month is about relationships, partnerships, and Bigfoot wants a relationship in a 6
certainly
months.
did. Yes. I mean, what's the big deal? Why couldn't she be their friends? You know, they weren't asking for anything more. So, I know. So that was quite an adventure over there in Malaysia. Very, very interesting story.
Definitely that.
So, yeah, so tonight, as soon as I hear from Joe, we will get, and I see we may have a message right here from Joe. I'm going to open this up so we can see. He's on, he's ready to talk, and we will have to ask him to lean in closely to his mic so we can hear him. All right, well, I'm going to talk a little bit about our illustrious guest. Now, we have been really wanting to talk to Daryl for some time, right?
That's for sure.
Because he has had years of investigations behind him. Now, I'm going to introduce him to everybody. If you don't know who he is, then I think you've been hiding under a rock, because he's known as the alien hunter, and that was given to him by a journalist, that title. He is the world's leading expert on alien abductions, and his 38-plus years of field research has focused on physical evidence and led to his groundbreaking discoveries of alien implants alien fluorescence. And as the former military police officer and CIA operative, Derrel has a unique insight to the alien organization, which he believes functions similarly to an intelligence agency. I think he's right. So he is also a compassionate and skilled therapist who has helped hundreds of alien experiencers all over the world come to terms with what they've witnessed. Now, that's our guest for tonight. But before we bring him on, I want to share something that I came across I thought was very appropriate before we bring Derrel onto the show. And it is a quote. It is from Carlos Castaneda's book, The Active Side of Infinity, where his teacher, Don Juan Matus, says something that is, I think, very telling about what is going on in the world today. What he says to Carlos is this: we have a predator that came from the depths of the cosmos and took over the rule of our lives. Human beings are its prisoners. The predator is our Lord and Master. It has rendered us docile, helpless. If we want to protest, it suppresses our protest. If we want to act independently, it demands that we don't do so. Sorcerers believe that the predators have given us our system of beliefs, our ideas of good and evil, our social mores. They are the ones who set up our hopes and expectations and dreams of success or failure. They have given us covetousness, greed, and cowardice. It is the predators who make us complacent, routinary, and egomaniacal. So according to Don Juan Matus, we have an unwanted visitor that has pre-programmed us to do what they want us to do. Doesn't this all sound just a bit too familiar as we bring aliens into the mix? So tonight, everybody, we are so blessed to have with us, so lucky to have with us, Daryl Sims. Derrel, welcome to the show.
Hello, how you doing, young ladies? I'll tell you, you guys looking great tonight.
How come we can't see
talker.
you?
I hope you can.
Not yet, but I'm sure Joe's going to help you get that video camera working so we can see. We love the hat.
Bravo, there you are.
There
Yay.
you go.
Okay.
All right. Great to finally talk to you, Derrel. Now, you have had a long career in the field, but you've also had your own experiences as a child. Tell us about what happened to you.
Well, how I came to be involved in this was as I did not prepare for this in any way, or shape, or form. But simply meaning that at age 4.5 years old, I woke up in the middle of the night with this entity. Somebody was in my room. That's all I knew, and it was walking away from me toward the wall, and it was about, I thought, going to bump into the wall. I thought, what's he doing? You know, what doesn't make any sense. And at that instant, it turned around and looked at me, and I heard it say, interestingly enough, without a voice, "It's awake." And I knew he was referring to me. So that was
It's
weird.
awake.
I've never experienced anything like that before. So now he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him. Of course, there's a little well outside our little house on 1005 South K Street in Midland, Texas, in 1953. And I can't figure out what in the world is going on. This guy's real skinny. He's got no clothes on. It's wintertime. I'm wrapped up in my blankets, and it's real cold. And this guy hasn't even got any clothes on. So as a kid, what a kid normally notices is if you don't have any clothes on, they notice, hey, you don't have any clothes on. And I noticed he didn't have a TT. He didn't have a belly button. And, of course, I didn't have a clue what all that meant, but except that it's weird. Of course, after 38 years investigating, I've figured out a few things since then. One of them is if you don't have genitalia, you probably don't procreate. And if you don't have a belly button or a navel, you probably weren't born. You were hatched, cloned, manufactured, or got here some other way.
That makes sense. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
Now, were you abducted at that time, or did they leave you alone?
They actually had just brought me back. It took me some time to figure out that they had just brought me back from the event. So the next, I was so upset by the event because I wasn't afraid. I wasn't terrified or anything. I just couldn't figure out who the guy was. Skinny little guy was in my room with. He was pure white, and he had large black eyes, but they were perfectly round, not like the wraparound Hollywood version. These eyes that he had, they were interesting because it doesn't make any sense when you see the aliens today, that, whenever people describe them or draw pictures of them. And even some photography we've got are a little different than these. So when people ask me, what's the difference between what you saw and what we're seeing today, my response is, I'm just looking at a Chevette and you're looking at a Corvette. It's a different model. That's all.
Wow. Now, you've come to understand a lot about these beings and their purpose here and the way they track people. You found out all about these implants that they put inside people. Do you think that they've got a positive agenda or a negative one, or is it a combination of the two?
Well, I think they're running the show in regards to abductions totally. And the two primary programs they're running is a program called Contactees, in which the idea is to basically get you to go along with the program, whatever it is they're doing, and to like it and think that you're special, unique, and whatever they're doing, it's all for you, which I've not found that to be true at all. And the other program is one of abductees. These are people who do not feel the same way. They have a sense that something's seriously wrong with this picture and that people should not be kidnapping me or my kids in the middle of the night.
Exactly. It does seem a bit invasive, doesn't it?
It certainly does. And especially whenever kids go through their abductions and they do things like sleep with a baseball bat, a hockey stick, and got string tied around the doors, windows, and everything so they can sense anybody coming through the room. And my own son, in his case, set up a bow and arrow the next night at the door so that it could shoot anybody coming through the door to get him the next night.
Oh, great. That's a little dangerous for the family.
It is.
Goodness.
But the point is that kids are so mortified by some of these events. Again, it depends on which program that you ended up in. If you're an abductee, your view is that something's wrong with this picture. I didn't want this, and it's not supposed to be happening to me. This is invasive. And as a former police officer, I can tell you it's kidnapping. You can call it anything you want. As one lady said to me, she says, but you don't understand at all. And I said, well, please enlighten me. And she says, the real thing is they bring you back, and this is the way it really is, and so on. And what I relayed to her is that this is, in a nutshell, it's still kidnapping. And I said, and when I work kidnapping cases and do this sort of thing, I never get people, the moms and dads, coming to me and saying, oh, Mr. Sims, you need to rethink your position. There are good kidnappers and bad kidnappers. And it probably was a good kidnapper that got our child. I never hear this, ever.
I bet you don't. Yeah. Now, you mentioned in one of the speeches I heard you make about this, that they have a way of tracking us, neural pathways that they follow. So once they've got you in their sights, you really aren't free. They come after you.
They do select you, and we have developed some statistics since the late 1980s, and some of the statistics are rather telling, and it kind of gives people a better hint as to who they're looking for. 45% of the people taken in these events are Native American, Indian, Irish, Celtic, or Gaelic, really. And when you look at that, and when I went to Turkey as an example, they said, Mr. Sims, we loved your presentation, we loved your work, but this is one area that you're incorrect on. And I said, no, the stats are correct. And they said, but we're all Turks, Mr. Sims. And I said, the stats are still going to be correct. So a professor from Ankara, the capital of Turkey, came to the United States, did DNA testing on certain Native American tribes in the north, and took the DNA testing back and tested the Turks. And guess what? The Turks are Native American, Irish, a Native American Turk. And the amazing thing about that is they brought over Native American tribes and had the biggest powwow in the history of powwows in Imperial because they're all.
For heaven's sakes.
But now,
Incredible.
why do you think that they take Native Americans and Irish people? Why them?
Goodness. Okay. Well, if we look at it basically, and since I'm both Native American and Irish, I can talk about them and with impunity, which others may not. You know, if you're not one of them, you got to keep your mouth shut. You know, we're privileged and that sort of thing. But the fact is that if you traveled to Native American lands almost anywhere in the U.S. a long time ago, you're looking for a quick haircut or a battle. So that's number one. Number two is when you go after you go to for instance, Notre Dame, and you look on the wall there, and right there, Notre Dame, it says the Fighting Irish. What I'm saying basically is that the Irish and the Native Americans tend to, and historically, they like to fight. Busting head and taking names is what we've always done. That's just the way it is, and like it or not, that's the way it is. Even among the Cherokee, we had the war council and a peace council, a peace chief and a war chief, and it's just that simple. Once the peace chief gave up his right and declared war, it was
Let me just stop you for a second, because what we've heard before, maybe you've heard this as well, or you know this as well, it seems like they follow their own genetic strain. So the people the lineage they've created, because this tends to be intergenerational, right? It
does point to that. It certainly does.
So I've heard before from Native American medicine people that they only come after their own. So in their creations, you're one of them, I guess. I mean, you're somebody they follow. You're somebody they come after because, in their minds, I guess you're one of them, right?
Well, I don't think so. The facts are that, in my viewpoint, and it's this will be a totally different spin on a lot of people's thinking tonight, I think. My suggestion is that, and I've done a lot of work in this area, that the alien, as we envision it, I call them the 7 models, because that's what they really are. They're not aliens. They're 7 models that somebody's made, hatched, cloned, or manufactured to interact with mankind to convince us that these guys are from some other planet. But when you look at the DNA, for instance, when you look at the Nordic alien, so to speak, he's human. You're probably not going to find a lot of humans on planet Venus. Probably not. So where would you get DNA to construct a human alien DNA? Well, probably from planet Earth. Where would you get DNA for let's say, a praying mantis? Probably not on Jupiter. Planet Earth is the place. And every one of these entities, including Bigfoot, which now they have decided from DNA testing is actually simian or ape-like creature, and modern woman. Now, how did modern woman get in the picture? My point is that somebody is doing their DNA work and have been doing this for some time, probably not in the millions of years, but probably in the last 7,000 to 10,000 years. And they've been doing this for a while and introducing these quote-unquote alien species to us as if they, in fact, are from another planet and they made us, they created us. And fact is, they didn't. Somebody made, hatched, cloned, or manufactured them.
Okay, but there is then what you're saying, there's a lot of genetic experiments going on and that are creating the life forms that we see here today, whether they be human or something like Bigfoot or maybe, who knows, maybe even Dogman. We've heard about Dogman too. So it just seems like they are running the show. They have the lid on this. The government covers it up. You were a CIA operative, so tell us about that. I mean, the government is keeping a lid on this as best they can, even in the internet age.
Well, the government has done this, and to be sure, to in case there's a member or two of your audience that don't know this, when we say the government, realistically, we're speaking of a cabal inside the government in its interagency, of course, and it involves the Office of Naval Investigations, Central Intelligence Agency, and several other groups as well. And some of these other agencies like NSA and so on are more like database places where they get more of their information. DSP satellites is a good example. The point is that the government per se doesn't have a clue about anything. The government it collects taxes and passes laws. That's
your
all.
Honesty is overwhelming.
That's true.
Oh, wow.
That is true. Yes, we know. So this is a whole separate gig that's going on, and I would imagine there's a lot of our tax dollars being funneled into these black op projects and things like that we'll never hear about and never see the light of day. So who's benefiting from that?
Us, kind of, in a way. I think, and I'm hoping this is the case. I think ultimately we will benefit the American people and hopefully others in the world because the intelligence boys have found things that are quite disturbing out there, and my hope is that they're using those black budgets for something besides just stealing technology. The second thing is that it obviously benefits the intelligence people. That particular breakaway space agency, that is all their own. That nothing you're ever going to know about, nothing I'm going to sit around and know about.
Exactly. So they're still working hard to cover everything up, but the internet is overwhelming with information. Some of it's disinformation, some of it's people making things up. And I know you've had experiences with people sending you photographs and you know they've been photoshopped. But then you also have had the experience of people sending you information and it's real. So the government must be having its hands full trying to control all of this information overload.
I would suspect that at least half their budget is the security aspect of it. Hiding.
No kidding. Wow.
Hiding.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yes. Well, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Gosh, we have a lot of questions for you, Daryl, in case you haven't noticed.
Just a few.
We've got to talk about these implants. We've got, again, the way they track people. Do they track people that don't have implants, or all of these people have implants that are being tracked?
Number one, implants are extremely rare, and your audience needs to know that. I discovered this in 1960. It's how I discovered it because it was my own case when I was 12 years old. The point is that implants are extremely rare, and every abductee I talk to at every conference, they always come up and say, please test me, check me with your equipment. I know I've got at least one, and maybe sometimes some people say hundreds of implants. Just in most cases, just not true. So that's the good news. The other good news is that the implants are not tracking devices. They never have been. If they were tracking devices, and they track you from birth, as an example, the implant would be bigger than you were. That doesn't make any sense. So the implants, when they're installed, is later during the person's life, usually between the age of 4 to 12 years old, whenever that time happens. If there is an implantation, that's generally where it's going to occur. And those implants are not designed, and I'll give you a definition of this later, but basically implants are not transponders. They're not tracking devices at all. The alien tracks all abductees and all contactees, in my opinion, through something like a neural signature.
Okay, hang on to that thought, Daryl, because we're going to have to take a very short break, but we want to come right back and have this conversation because people want to know about implants, what they're really for, and how people are being tracked. You're listening to Supernatural Girlz Radio, everybody. Just stay tuned.
Listening to IRN, the Inception Radio Network, Chicago, Illinois.
You didn't forget what's coming up tonight, did you? Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Never miss that interview you were looking forward to or the show on your favorite topic. Follow IRN on Twitter, I_R_N, and get reminders about the evening's live shows as well as fun and important updates throughout the week. That's I_R_N, and never miss a great show again.
Do you want more out of life? CreativeStrength.us can help you turn your dreams into a reality. Do you suffer from common health issues or stress? Are you sick of living day after day in pain and anxiety? Have you tried traditional methods but see no results? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then the 15-day Scalar Energy Healing free trial is perfect for you. When you sign up for the Scalar Energy free trial, you'll get 3 free treatments: a pathogenic cleanse, nutrient therapy, and chakra balance for every day of the 15-day trial. Go to CreativeStrength.us to learn more about this free trial and sign up. There is no credit card required, only your willingness to improve your life. Anyone, anywhere in the world can register for this free trial of Scalar Energy treatments. Healing energy is all around us, and now CreativeStrength.us has a way to help you harness it to improve your daily life. Only a picture of yourself is needed to be treated with Scalar Energy. Simply email your photo and enjoy the Scalar Energy treatments. You can experience the miraculous, life-changing powers of Scalar Energy Healing from the comfort of your own home. Visit CreativeStrength.us. Change your life for the better, effortlessly. Go to CreativeStrength.us today.
Hi, can you hear my voice? Imagine how many other people can hear it too. If you have advertising needs, then look no further. The Inception Radio Network currently has openings for on-air advertisements and radio show sponsorships. Given any thought to your target demographic? Inception has you covered there too. Advertising on a network gives you multiple opportunities to advertise on a wide variety of radio show broadcasts, and we have one to fit every advertising need. You know, in recent years, internet radio has exhibited a phenomenal listener growth. An Arbitron Edison survey shows that online radio boosts at least 33 million unique visitors each week and 54 million each month. And that number amazingly continues to grow. And these listeners are a part of many businesses' core demographics. And surveys have shown that internet radio listeners are far more likely than regular radio listeners to spend money on a whole range of activities. You know, internet listeners vote, they dine out and eat fast food, and they grab a cup of coffee. And here's the interesting one. They buy items online at a much higher rate than all other market segments combined. Internet radio also enables businesses to connect with consumers during work hours, where increasingly more lifestyle decisions are being made. Advertise with the best. The Inception Radio Network offers competitive advertising rates to fit just about anyone's advertising budget. Stop by today at www.inceptionradionetwork.com or call us toll-free at 1-888-919-2355. Get the word out. Get results with the Inception Radio Network.
Are you a fan of Inception Radio Network? Do you reckon it's the best alternative talk radio station on the planet? Well, if you do, head to facebook.com/Inception Radio Network and like the page. Tell your friends, spread the word, and keep listening to the best.
Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception Radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are you getting screwed on your property taxes? How to find out and how to fix it. Available on Amazon.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girlz Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I'm here with my co-host, PK, and our amazing guest tonight, who we've really been looking forward to having on our show, Derrel Sims. Derrel, we've been talking about implants. Now, this is news to me, that implants are not tracking devices. I'm shocked. What about you, PK? Are you shocked?
Well, I was very startled about it. What are the implants radioactive or anything like that even if a person isn't aware of them or that they've been implanted, that others can pick it up?
There are different ways that we look for evidence. One of them is in the visible range, of course, where you have scoop marks, cuts, lumps, bruises, bumps, and this sort of thing. We look at that. The second thing we do is use ultraviolet light to light up the abductee and see if they've been physically touched by the alien entity. There's two possibilities there'll be evidence there. There'll be a casual contact, in other words, 3 large fingers or a hand will literally, the imprint of that will be on them in the invisible range, but it'll light up beautifully under black light. And
for heaven's sakes.
It'll penetrate the skin subdermally on contact. You can't get it off or wash it off.
And what purpose do they serve, Derrel? What's the point of these implants?
The purpose of implants are multiple, in my opinion. One of them as an example, one of the things they may do, and we've seen some evidence of this from doctors' reports and others who look at this with us, is that some of these implants seem to be able to alter levels of neurotransmitters such as serotonin, dopamine, potassium. Now, any psychopharmacologist or anybody with any basic education in neurotransmitters will tell you that anybody that can control those in a human being literally determines whether you're sad, glad, suicidal, happy, or what. They run your show.
Wow. So the implants serve as a mind control technology.
It could. Some of them appeared like a little girl. A mother called me one day and said, my little girl told me that she was a strange little bald-headed man with large black eyes in her room, and he did something in her nose. And I said, well, what should I do? I said, have her sneeze in a Kleenex immediately. And she had her sneeze repeatedly, and she said, oh, my God, there's 4 little tiny gold spheres. They're about the size of a pinhead. And long story short, I eventually got the 4 spheres and had them looked at by university at York University in Toronto. And what we found there, under the care of a tenured metallurgist, is that the objects were 51% silver and 49% gold. And it looked like a little tiny planet. They're about the size of a pinhead. It's possible that a medication, I don't like the word medication because that's not what they're doing here. Some type of medicative material might have been placed on that, and the little craters would allow more of it to get to last longer, to in effect medicate the individual, if that's what was really happening. But we found 8 of those on that little girl, 4 on 2 different occasions.
Oh my gosh!
What's a draw for? Why do they choose certain people? Is there a specific draw to certain ones? Is there something about their makeup that makes them the target?
Well, I classify objects in 2 ways. One is implants and things that are embedded. There are objects that are embedded in people, and then things that are implanted. Some things that are embedded are not for any discernible real purpose. Sometimes it's a red herring. In other cases, where the implants themselves show up, there seems to be something very specific going on. In the first 2 surgeries we did in 1995, literally what happened was the objects, 4 objects out of 2 people, a man and woman who did not know each other, the objects turned out to have the most remarkable biology that a Nobel laureate is still harping about. And the second thing was the implants themselves were looked at by Los Alamos and New Mexico Tech, and they determined that whatever the objects were, they were extraterrestrial in origin.
Oh my gosh!
Amazing.
Well,
Just
that's the
amazing.
smoking gun, isn't it? I mean, whenever you can produce some proof, which you've done, about something that's not of this world, there it is. I mean,
well, it seems to be, and of course, what's proof to one person is nothing to another. Everybody's got their own idea of what that is or isn't. And as far as I'm concerned, my search is about physical evidence and other evidence too. It's not just stuff that we can just necessarily see, because we see the effects on people, even when we do handwriting analysis on these people. Handwriting shows the behaviors and things that are consistent with your life. And
one second, Daryl, before you go on, I just wanted to mention you've got somebody. Yeah, you have a mischievous something in your room.
There you go.
Your screen, yeah.
Okay.
You look much better now.
Okay. There you go.
Now we can see
You're all there.
It was gradually moving up to just your hat. So we didn't want to lose you. And I thought, one of those aliens is just playing a
what
trick.
are they doing in here? So handwriting, it tells us a lot about the individual's life and about their habits and so on. If they have a propensity to lie, a propensity to exaggerate, this sort of thing, it shows up in your handwriting. So we look at this. But what we found was something rather amazing. In some of these people, we found behaviors in the people that don't show up in the handwriting. What does that mean? Well, what that means to a handwriting analyst is somebody else's behavior that's installed in you.
Wow.
That's pretty dynamite.
Wow.
That is dynamite. And we're supposed to have free will on this planet. But clearly there's something that's superseding that.
Well, I think that free will exists. I have a different view, a worldview probably than some people. I think that there is destiny. I think there's predestiny, and I think there is free will. Free will can be tampered with. For instance, if you give people, if you give somebody that has a propensity to do drugs, as an example, 8 different kinds of drugs, and then free will, you're probably going to get a drug addict out of the deal. I mean, it's just that you're providing them choices that's outside their free will. It's creating a problem for the individual.
But is there a choice? I mean, when these things come into your room at night and you're 4 years old, what is your choice? Where is your choice? You're 4 years old. This thing comes into your room, takes you. You kind of come to consciousness as it's bringing you back, and you notice he's got no clothes on. Where's the free will? Where are you in that saying, yeah, go ahead, take me on board your ship? It's not happening.
Here, let me finish the rest of that little story, and this will probably answer part of that, at least.
Okay.
When the entity looked at me and made the statement, "It's awake," and I realized he's talking about me, I was not afraid. I was not paralyzed. I was sitting up in bed looking at it. Then all of a sudden, its eyes moved in some particular way, and I don't know what that was. All I know is that at that instant, I became paralyzed, and a fear came over me that I have never experienced in my entire life. I've never experienced anything like it. So what that simply means, and since now after all these years of investigations, is 2 things. Number one, he transferred his fear to me. We as human beings try to think of the alien as having lifestyles like our own. They have no such lifestyle. They live in fear. They live in enormous fear, some less than others, depending on your station in the caste system, so to speak. And when he came toward me, I became so frightened. I pushed real hard. And I had a little tiny bed, a little cot-like bed, and I pushed it apart from the wall, so it was kind of a V at that point. And I fell with my head hit the floor, and I was wrapped up in my little covers, and he couldn't get to me at that way. So it was the kid's worst nightmare. He lifted up the covers of my bed from the floor and stuck that large bulbous head and large black eyes right next to my face. And it's just beyond horrible. And he didn't shapeshift. I could figure this out at age 4. I can't believe people still can't figure this out. He did not shapeshift. He tried to change my perception of him into that of a clown, and that was supposed to be my screen memory, so I wouldn't remember who he was. And I kept shaking my little head, no, there's your free will. And I wanted to remember him for what he was, not for what he wanted me to think he was as a bad dream when he left.
Well, good for you. That's quite a feat of willpower for a 4-year-old that you were able to achieve that. That's amazing. So it's a real testament to who you are as a person, that you were strong enough to do that back then. So, but here's another question. I heard a rumor that you actually figured out a way to thwart an abduction. Is that true? Can you teach people or tell people this is what you need to do if you don't want to be abducted?
Yes.
All right.
Good. Good show.
We have to hear this. What do you do? Because, from what you're describing, it's not pleasant for most people.
There are some things you can do, yes. And people write me on my website, alienhunter.org. Click on Alien Hunter. I'll be glad to send you the information, and you're welcome to test all of it if you want to. It's free.
That's great. That's great. Amazing. Okay, alienhunter.org, everybody. That is the website. And you also have your book for sale there, yes?
That's about the only thing we've got for sale. Everything we do is philanthropic. We did 25 surgeries thus far. The last one I did was in India on an implant surgery there, and all of those are free. We don't charge for whatever we do. We don't charge for, I do hypnotic anesthesia. I don't charge for that. I don't do any type of any of this at all for any cost. It's a philanthropic effort. I know what these people have gone through.
That's tremendous. I mean, that's a real tremendous effort on your part. So one of the things I've heard you mention before is that if you want to disengage from an abduction, you take them off balance. And I think in one talk I heard you say you can put your arm around them and act friendly, and that just takes them totally off guard.
Well, in that particular case, the lady came one night to her hypnosis session, and she said, they said, if I give you any more information, they're going to come after my children. I said, young lady, do you think they're going to do it anyway? And she said, yes. And I said, then it's kind of a moot threat, isn't it? And she started crying. She said, you got to help me protect my children. I said, I'm getting better evidence and better information from you than I am all my abductees total. Just you. So she kept crying. I said, okay, I'll. So I gave her a specialized system that I developed just for her, and she literally took control of the alien that night when he came in. And he did. This happened on 2 occasions. What I wanted from her, she said, what do you want? And I said, I want Freddy Krueger's hat out of the dream. I want you to tear his eye cover off and bring it back to me.
Wow. And
she did tear it half off the first time, got it completely off the second time. But unfortunately, there were more entities in the room. There were 5 of them in the room the second time. And what in effect happened is they finally, each one got on a finger of themselves and pried her fingers apart and got the eye cover back. Because I knew the eye cover was removable, because I knew that from 4 years old, because I remembered what he did with his eye at that time.
So the eye cover, was that like a fabric eye cover or like a helmet? What was it that?
No, I think of it as like a cosmic sunglasses for the alien.
Okay.
And it may be of a plastic type material. Sometimes people report it kind of has a sheen to it. So, but it's an eye cover, and sometimes you'll see the aliens with them on, and sometimes with them off. It allows
they look like
to see
them off.
Ultraviolet, X-ray, and visible light all at the same time.
Oh, okay. Well, I've got a couple questions.
When they say that, they actually they're true, because he's actually standing inside you.
Oh, my God. Well, I've got a couple questions for you from our chat room people. Space Traveler is asking, Daryl, do you know whether the Earth has any natural resources that an alien species is trying to mine?
Well, my answer to that is twofold. The current people, the beings we're calling the aliens, which I call the 7 models, no. Because they're made, hatched, cloned, manufactured by someone else for their purposes, not for the aliens' purposes. The alien is they're just doing their job. They're just made for this purpose. If there really were aliens, and I don't think we've seen any yet, if there really were aliens from other worlds that came here, would they want our resources? Well, I would certainly think so. That would make sense. And Dr. Stephen Hawking says any advanced civilization over any other civilization has always taken over the resources, the people, everything about them, and either assimilates that population or destroys it. What would be the difference if others came here? Oh, because they're higher and bigger and better than we are. Yeah, really? Isn't that what the Spaniards, the Indians thought about the Spaniards too?
Right. Exactly. Yes. Good answer. Yeah. And then I have another question for you from Neutron, who's asking, for the sake of keeping her memory and abduction research alive, Daryl, can you tell us about your late friend Carla Turner and her findings?
I can. Candy was a buddy of mine. I loved her very much. Everyone that knew Candy loved her. She was shortest woman I ever saw. She's 4'9" or something. I mean, it's this little tiny thing. And of course, I'm 6 foot, and we're standing there laughing at each other, and you're getting a chance to talk to her. She's a wonderful lady, a fighter beyond understanding. I told Candy before she died, I said, everybody's going to say the CIA, the government, whoever gave you cancer and they killed you, or the aliens did it, or whatever. I said, in your opinion, what's the deal? I said, I'm not going to make stuff up, and I'm not going to listen to this stuff. I said, tell me your view. That's all that matters to me. And Candy told me that she did not think that the CIA or anybody like that had given her cancer. She said people die of cancer, and that's what's happening to me. And I said, I understand. And I said, I do know of cases where cancer has been apparently transmitted to abductees and more specifically contactees. And this is horrific. If contactees had a clue, see, contactees, that they had this rose-colored glasses they live by, and I love them. I do. I admire them. But they need to pay attention to the stats, because you can't just use your rose-colored glasses and say everything's fine out there when you're finding people that have been mutilated like cattle. You can't ignore evidence. You can't do that. You just can't do it.
No, exactly.
Candy was a fighter.
But so you're saying that cancer may be spreading as a result of the relationship that contactees have with the ETs?
I'm saying that many abductees have touched the aliens, as I have, and didn't get cancer or anything else from them. Sometimes they get sick as a result, because I think that's due to their eating habits, and also due to the dirty needles that they may be using on people. So you often will end up suffering flu-like symptoms.
They're worse than a junkie.
My God. Can't even use clean needles. What the heck's wrong with these aliens? It's terrible.
Alien, it's on purpose.
Wow. That's awful. Well, when you talk about, again, taking the extraterrestrials or whoever they are, the aliens, by surprise, and doing something they don't expect, and that's how you can, one of the ways you can get control of the situation. Now, I've heard this before, and it's used quite effectively with the Men in Black. Now, have you heard that before, that people can kind of confuse the minds of the Men in Black by answering the questions in a strange way that doesn't make any sense, and so they get confused?
I have a funny, fascinating story from a conference I went to up in Sioux Falls. Let's see here. Yes, in Sioux Falls. And while I was there, a lady I spoke to said she was a psychologist on top of that, and she said I was doing a part-time job as a working, just filling out forms and stuff for apartments. And since I walked around the corner, and there's this tall guy in solid black standing there with a long black coat, and it's the strangest looking thing I've ever seen in my life, and I didn't know what to think about it. And she said, I said, well, what did you do? And she said, I had my little clipboard in hand, I shoved it into his chest and said, fill these papers out. He was so stunned. He filled the papers out. And I said, he what? She said, he filled the papers out. I said, oh my God, I'm a handwriting analyst. Give me a copy of the printing. And the lady is gone since then. She's not written back. I don't know where she's at. If she's listening, please send me the handwriting sample.
Oh my God. That is a great story. I love that story.
Good Lord.
Can you imagine that man in black, whatever he was, just standing there filling out the paperwork? I love it. So again, it's best not to follow any orders from them. Time for you to give them some orders. Big difference.
Well, there are two kinds of bibs. First is the kind that she ran into, which is the alien version. They are just a transgenic, a human form, a transgenic made for the purpose of, again, cleaning up messes that the alien makes and can't figure out how to fix. So they'll send him to take care of the problem. That's what they do. The second kind is, and I've had encounters with this as well, the second kind is the government MIB. And these people are awful. They know a lot about you, a lot more and they're getting, in my opinion, a lot of their information from NSA, no question about it. And they follow these certain abductees, and they've done this with some of my own abductees. It's fairly rare compared to the volume of abductees, but these people, one of them made a super stupid mistake with the last one that he dealt with one of my abductees. And I asked my abductee, I said, what did he do so stupid? He said, he gave me his business card. And I have followed up on it.
Men in black have business cards.
Oh, my God.
I would like to have one of those.
And it doesn't say MIB on it.
No? What does it say?
I could tell you, but I'd have to kill myself.
That's great, Daryl. I just wanted to mention, PK, your room's getting foggy now.
I know. I saw that. I just looked at David. I just said, it's dark fog.
Daryl, this has been happening. I don't know if you've been aware of what we've been going through the last few weeks, 3 weeks in a row. All of a sudden, PK's room gets super foggy. So I don't know if you remember how she looked at the beginning, but if you look at her now, you see there's a level of fog in her room. Yep. So we're going to get to the bottom of that eventually, but it's a really incredible phenomenon. So. Yes, it's very
clear.
Interesting.
Outside is totally clear.
Yeah, so those of you who are listening, but you want to see this, go to irnchat.com, click on the menu tab, and then click on Tube, and you'll be able to see what we're talking about. And more importantly, you'll be able to see Daryl's hat that we really love.
I love his hat.
I know.
Take an air sample of that room.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. Take some air samples. Take some jars. Let them sit open and seal them so they can't, so nothing can escape. And because if that ever disappears, you'll still have the air sample there.
Good idea, Daryl.
Oh, okay.
See, he's a true investigator. He knows exactly what to do.
He knows what to do.
I just sit here and take pictures. That's all I do. So.
I'm sitting in a totally clear room, but everything around me on the screen is
foggy.
It's very foggy.
It's just amazing. Yeah.
This is the fourth week that it's done this.
Yeah. Here we go again, everybody. Well, look, we're going to take a very short commercial break. We're going to watch PK get foggier and foggier, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to talk some more. Yes, with Derrel Sims, Alien Hunter. So you are listening to Supernatural Girlz Radio, everybody.
Listening to IRN, the Inception Radio Network, Chicago, Illinois.
Inception Radio Network listeners, this is Amanda. Just a reminder that Inception Radio Network is on Twitter. Follow us at I_R_N and keep up to date about who's on tonight, what interviews they'll be doing, who's guest spotting, what topics they'll be covering. Tweet to us, tweet about us, retweet topics to your friends, and most importantly, never miss a great show again. That's I_R_N.
Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ.
Do you want more out of life? CreativeStrength.us can help you turn your dreams into a reality. Do you suffer from common health issues or stress? Are you sick of living day after day in pain and anxiety? Have you tried traditional methods but see no results? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then the 15-day Scalar Energy Healing free trial is perfect for you. When you sign up for the Scalar Energy free trial, you'll get 3 free treatments: a pathogenic cleanse, nutrient therapy, and chakra balance for every day of the 15-day trial. Go to CreativeStrength.us to learn more about this free trial and sign up. There is no credit card required, only your willingness to improve your life. Anyone, anywhere in the world can register for this free trial of Scalar Energy treatments. Healing energy is all around us, and now CreativeStrength.us has a way to help you harness it to improve your daily life. Only a picture of yourself is needed to be treated with Scalar Energy. Simply email your photo and enjoy the Scalar Energy treatments. You can experience the miraculous, life-changing powers of Scalar Energy healing from the comfort of your own home. Visit CreativeStrength.us. Change your life for the better, effortlessly. Go to CreativeStrength.us today.
Hello, Inception Radio Network. Would you like your favorite show to be played again live on air? Well, now the choice is in your hands with IRN's live request portal, an easy way to request your favorite show with a simple click. IRN's live request portal now gives you exclusive access to all the shows. How easy is it? Simply type a show name or a guest name, click request, even write a dedication message, and that's it. Try it now. Simply visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com, click on the live request tab under the show menu. Now playing your favorite show is just a mouse click away.
Are you a fan of Inception Radio Network? Do you reckon it's the best alternative talk radio station on the planet? Well, if you do, head to facebook.com/Inception Radio Network and like the page. Tell your friends, spread the word, and keep listening to the best.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the source. With cosmic fusion, the source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion, www.KOSMICfusion.com, to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girlz Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker, here with my co-host, PK, and our amazing guest tonight, we're thoroughly enjoying, Daryl Sims.
Definitely that. He is
alien hunter.
My goodness. Good Lord.
I know. He's going to try to help us stay safe amongst this very treacherous path here with these aliens. I don't know. You know, I used to feel kind of good about them, not so much anymore. So we want to hear, Daryl, please tell us about some of these abductions, some of the strangest stories you have heard from your people. What has been going on?
Okay, I can give you. I'll give you a thumbnail here of a couple of our cases. This one occurred here in Texas, and the individual spoke to me. The long and short of it is he was a fisherman. He was a boy, and he was with his dad fishing, and they were kind of like the swamp people. That sort of, it's that mentality that they fish all their life. That's what they did. And they were fishing one day, and a bright light showed up underneath. It lit up the murky brown water they're in, and it just steamed all the water around their boat. And they're like freaking out completely. He said, I was kind of excited. My dad was just terrified. And said then, after a few minutes, he said, whatever it was underneath the boat took off and left a wake as big as a ship. And it went to the horizon, and we never saw it come out of the water. And he said the very first thing my dad did at that time was to put the boat in gear, and got it started, and we ran. He said he ran the boat all the way up onto the beach. He said, which my dad would have beaten me senseless if I'd have done anything like that. You never do a boat like that. Never. And then he said, that's how scared. My dad's not afraid of anything, and everybody loved him. He said, the bottom line is that we drove as fast as he could in the car, and went and got my uncle. He said they drove all the way back as fast as they could, and he said, and he brought his boat back. He said, and then I said, what was the problem? He said, our aluminum boat was magnetized. Aluminum doesn't magnetize. He said, my dad tried to lift our steel gas can out of there. He said, as strong as he was, he said it took all his strength to get the gas can off the boat. He said they drug the boat out into the middle of this area of body of water, and they shot holes in it and sank our boat.
Oh my gosh!
For heaven's sakes!
And I said, why is that? He said, because my dad didn't want anybody to ever find the boat, the evidence, or anything about it, and that none of that could have happened. He said, and told me, you didn't see this, none of it happened. Forget it. It never happened. Period. So I talked to the guy, and years later, he told me, and this is going to blow your audience away. I had him on the phone, and I was talking to him, and I said, so how did things go for you in life after that? And he said, well, he said, I was babysitting one day. My little daughter was in there, a couple of years old, was sitting in the bathtub with about 4 inches of water, safe, of course. And he said, the phone rang. I ran in, got the phone real quick, talked a couple of minutes, came back in, and my daughter's dead.
Oh, my God.
No. Oh.
He said, I'm an ENT guy, I know all about how to resuscitate and everything. He said, my daughter was dead. He cried and he cried and cried. And I said, no, wait a minute. I said, I'm an investigator. I'm going to put my cop hat on here. It's going to sound really insensitive. Just answer the questions. What did your daughter look like? He said, she was dead. And I said, talk to me. He said, her eyes were still wide open and in stark terror. I said, okay. I said, what's the next thing you noticed? He said, she was stiff as a board. I said, rigor mortis doesn't set in that fast. He said, exactly. What are you saying? I said, listen carefully to me. He kept crying. He said, my wife left me over this. I said, listen carefully to me. When's the last, have you ever seen that look on your child's face and anyone else's face in your entire life? And it's so the very first time. And I took him back. It's called a transderivational search and in NLP. And over the phone, he broke out and started freaking completely out. He said, oh, my God, my dad in the boat when the light was underneath us. But they don't realize abductions already happened. They just brought them back and put them back in the boat. They don't even have a clue. And I said, whatever got your dad that day got your daughter in the bathroom while you were on the phone. When it heard you coming back, it dropped her in the water. She was already scared stiff, literally, and it dropped her face down in the water, and she drowned because of that event. It's not your fault. And he cried.
That is a tragedy beyond belief.
Oh, God.
Not the only case like that.
That is a tragedy. My God. Awful, awful, awful.
Just horrific.
Now, I have a question for you, Daryl, about abductions, because it seemed to us that there were a lot of abductions and reports of abductions that were taking place through the 80s, and then they seemed to kind of peter out a little bit. So it didn't seem like we were getting the reports, or it wasn't happening. I don't know. So have they lessened the abductions or not?
I hear this all the time from people, and I hear it from people that, number one, are not in the field. They're reading books or watching TV or something. I'm in the field, and business is brisk. They're still doing what they're doing. They haven't slowed down at all. In fact, if anything, they have sped up. And
really?
Yeah.
My God!
It's businesses. I've got 4. Well, I get a bunch of calls all the time, but I've got 4 really good cases. 3 of them are abductees, and one of them is a contactee, and that's just this week.
Oh my goodness!
Wow. So it definitely isn't slowing down any.
And I'm not the only investigator out there. I'm just the only one that deals primarily in physical evidence. By that doesn't mean that I don't believe your case or anything. It's just that I have so many cases, 1,950 plus worldwide, that I can't take on any more cases of, I saw a bright light. I don't care about bright lights in the sky somewhere. What I care about is evidence and what you can do to interact with them to cause them to cease, desist, or do something else or acquire some type of evidence for us.
Well, that makes sense. It really does. So you're not wasting your time, and you're really trying to make some headway on this issue. Now, I read something about you were actually in close proximity as an adult to some aliens, and you said you almost had them. They were a couple feet away from you.
That is correct. I have an abductee that is an engineer, and he gets abducted every year on vacation.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
What a vacation.
The Snowmass Wilderness near Gunnison. And so I thought, why waste the opportunity? So I took 7 investigators with me. We went up there for a week, and people always see these neat pictures of me like I am now or whatever, and they say, I want to be one of those alien hunters too. I show a picture of me in this article, and I'll send it to anyone that wants it. It's the article about that whole story, but basically they didn't do anything, and on the last night they showed up. But it was so high up in the bush where we were at, up in the mountains, that it was very difficult for me to breathe well, so I didn't get sleep very much. So I was literally worn out. The point is that on that last night they came, and one of them came outside my tent, and I could see him through the tent. The shadow of him from the light that was on my tent, and I had a large Cutco knife. I was going to run through the tent and impale him. And people said, "Oh my God, why would you do that?" And I said, "Because he's just a toaster. They got a million more just like him, and they mean nothing to the program. Nothing. They don't care. If they mess up, and they do it a couple of times, they'll just get rid of them. They'll just open the airlock and let them out. They don't care. They don't care. I
get that feeling.
Nothing to us. It's a totally different scenario. But the bottom line is several other people had seen or had contact in some way or another with those entities that night. And it was absolutely an amazing story, and I'll send it to anyone who wants. It's free. to anyone who wants to click on alienhunter.org and say, send me the story of the contact that you had with the alien. What I did, though, rather than to try to take him that night physically, I got thinking I could probably do this anytime. I want to see if I can still have contact with them mentally. Is that a skill that I still have? That was really important to me as an investigator because I hadn't been abducted since I was 17 years old. And so what I did was to see if I could do that, and it worked. And to my shock and amazement, I also, not as an abductee this time, but as a trained observer and a trained investigator, as I got into his headspace, I noticed something really remarkable. Nothing was in there. The only thing that he thinks or does is what he's told, instructed, or trained, or programmed in him. He doesn't have any independent thought.
So he's part of a hive or a collective.
That would be a nice way to think about it.
My goodness.
So who's in charge?
The $64,000 question.
And do you know, Daryl?
Well, I could tell you. Wow. The question that really I think should be framed, if you're going to ask that, is who constructed, made, hatched, or cloned the alien?
Oh, okay.
That's the real question. Who's on first? Who did that? And there are two primary views. One is the Sitchin view, which I was reading some stuff on Sitchin a long time ago, and I thought, this guy either can't translate Hebrew properly or Sumerian, or he's not a Hebrew or Sumerian scholar, or he's lying, one of the two. Which is it? So I can't figure that out. So I went to a friend of mine who is a Hebrew, Ugartic, and ancient Sumerian scholar, and told him my difficulties with some of the things I was reading from Sitchin. I said, why can't this guy translate this stuff properly? And he says, that's a very good question. I said, why don't I get you and Art Bell or someone like that on a big radio program or TV program and have a proctor between you two, someone who you both respect, and just let you two get after it, and we'll find out who's right. And he said, that would be great. And Sitchin's crew would have nothing to do with it.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy, that sent all kinds of red flags up to me. But the bottom line is Sitchin's basic view was the ones who came down from the heaven, they came to Earth. Well, that's not quite the accurate rendering. Basically, there was war, and they got kicked out. You got a number 12 boot in the face, basically, and you came to whoever kicked you out, you took personal interest in their property, which happened to be this particular planet and a program going on here. And as a result, so you've got Sitchin's view or you've got a biblical view. But one of those two views makes a lot of sense to me, and they're similar in some respects. That whoever they were, they came down here. And even the Sitchin view shows that the best thing that they did for mankind is make slaves out of everybody.
Oh, that was the best thing. Wow. I wonder what the worst thing is.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't want to know.
Really?
Yeah. So it's a difficult question, but here's another one for you. These things that you described as just like toasters, do they have a soul?
No.
No soul.
No. When I did an incredible, this would take a whole show for us to do. I did an experiment. I'm the alien hunter. I don't have an alien hunter name just because it's a name. It's actually it's not only a noun, it's a verb, and it's an adjective. It describes what I do. And basically, what I did was to program a contactee, not an abductee, and they agreed to this whole thing. And in their next abduction, they got taken, and something remarkable happened. They blurted out this information that I programmed in them that I thought was dangerous to the alien phenomena, if it was real. I found it in another abductee. And long story short is 8 of our people were taken in 2 states and several cities by independent craft to a massive craft, of which we think we have a video of currently. And the craft was approximately 50 miles thick, 600 miles across, located near the moon at the time.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
We do have a video that we think is it. The point is that on that craft, 2 highly intelligent beings, not representative of the quote-unquote alien, but the makers, the guys in charge, I call them mid-level management. They said that they've got the seven so-called races of aliens, everybody calls them the races, all standing there scared to death in front of the guy sitting in the big chair. They're really scared. And in the other room is the lady I programmed. They got my senior investigator in one room, and they got her in the other room asking the same primary 3 questions. Number 1 is, why did he do this? And my senior investigator said, I knew it was you. He said, it was because your image came up when he said it. He said, and you didn't tell me that. Why didn't you tell me? I said, you're an abductee. Why would I tell you anything? You're going to tell them everything. He said, of course I did. And I said, like I said, why would I tell you anything? That's what you do. So they asked 3 questions, and these are the big ones.
Okay.
Why did he do it? And he said, I don't have a clue. And the guy in the chair got really upset when he said that, because when he asked a question, he demands an answer. And it scared everybody there, including the big Nordic. The Nordic was over 6'6", and Dale stands 6'2", and he put his big, beautiful blue eyes right next to Dale's head, eye to eye, forehead to forehead. And he looked back to the big guy sitting in the chair, and he says he doesn't know. And that cooled the guy off when he realized he actually didn't know. The second question he asked, he said, Dale said he produced a holographic image of a brain in front of me. This is really important for your audience. In that holographic brain, he looked at Dale and he says, point to the human soul. Where is it located? They didn't know.
That is important.
In the other room, the same questions were being asked of the woman, but with one difference. They produced a human brain in front of her on a screen. And he told her to point to the human spirit. Where is it located? They have no idea where the human soul or spirit is located, and that's one of the things they're interested in. The bottom line, whether you think the aliens are here to save the planet, fix the ozone, or whatever you think they're here for, they've come a long, long, long way to get what you have, and they can't do it without separating it from you and it causing death, so they don't get anything. So that's the problem.
That's a big problem.
They're not interested in your DNA. They've had your DNA for 1,000 years. Doesn't mean a thing.
They want our soul.
Well, they want to do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's an interesting thing you bring up, because I know, PK, you and I have been talking about the work that George Lugo and I have done looking for the missing people that have been identified by David Paulides. And what we found was exactly that a number of these people were being taken for their souls, and then the bodies are dumped. They're just empty containers when they're done with them. So it's pretty, to me, that is much more frightening than taking a tissue sample, you know? Or
people are wanting to make this a quote-unquote physical phenomena. It does have physics. It does have all kinds of things in the infrared, ultraviolet, and interdimensional ranges. I am all aboard that. But the extraterrestrial hypothesis involved with the so-called 7, the usual suspects, as I call them, that some people refer to as the aliens, in my opinion, you're looking at something far bigger, and that this is more of a spiritual issue than just a quote-unquote nuts and bolts issue.
Agreed. I think we both agree with you on that. There's a lot more to this. Absolutely. Now, I have another question from the chat room for you, and he says, Daryl, have they perfected and changed their abduction techniques, which makes us believe there are less today?
I think that's true. A long time ago, in the 80s and 90s, early 90s, you weren't supposed to remember anything. In my event, when I told you about that in 1952, the very first thing, he was alarmed because he said, it's awake. I'm not supposed to remember anything. And even when he had to fix the problem, he tried to give me the screen memory of a bad dream of a clown. And many abductees have clown phobias, and they don't know why they have them. And that's where you get them. And these are just
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
But they are very effective. But one of the things, something's changing, and I will tell you this: in the mass abduction I told you about before, the big program where I actually got them to respond to us.
Yes.
One of the things that was fascinating is my senior investigator saw a giant map in a special room, and he asked the Nordic, what is that? And he said, that's our interaction with mankind. And he saw this big, he said, well, what's that little little small section about an inch long there. He said, that's all the time we have left.
Oh, wow.
What do you mean? And, of course, being an engineer, he said that's the last 100 years. Now, we don't know if it's in the first 10, the first 50, or at the end of it. We don't know. But the bottom line is that, of course, being an engineer is what he did while the Nordic was doing his thing. He computed how much it would take of all that little inch there. He said it was approximately 6,000 years on that map that they had been actually involved with us, according to the map that they had in that massive craft, 600 miles across, 50 miles thick.
God, that is just bigger than enormous. I don't even know what to say about something that huge. But again, there's so much going on in this phenomenon, and you have such a vast amount of experience. What's the best advice you could give somebody if they feel that they're abductees and they need some help? Should they give you a call? Should they write to you on your website?
The best way to get in touch with me is to write me. Go to alienhunter.org and click on Alien Hunter. It will send me a message immediately. If I don't answer you for whatever reason, don't think that I'm ignoring you. I'm not. I answer all my email, so just do it again. And but I normally get to all my mail. Sometimes I'm on a trip or speaking or whatever, and I can't get all of it then. But I carry my computer with me, and I do answer abductees' questions, concerns, emails, because I care about these folks. I know what they're going through, and I will not leave them alone without any kind of help. I won't do it.
Well, God bless you. I mean, it's wonderful because you've got the best of all worlds in what you're offering all of us tonight. I mean, you are an investigator yourself. You had this experience a number of times, so you know personally what this feels like. You also went through this with your son, and you are an investigator that knows all aspects of these cases. So in my opinion, they couldn't have anybody better than you to help them. So, yeah, everybody, alienhunter.org, and feel free to go ahead and contact Daryl, buy his book. What's the name of your book again? Get that out, please.
The book is on the site as well. It's called Alien Hunter, Evidence and Light. I look at the alien in the invisible light, the infrared, and the ultraviolet, and X-ray. Just like he sees us, you can see him as well.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I wanted to read a quote for the end of the show. What a great show. I mean, Daryl, you're amazing, and thank you for all your great work. Oh, it's wonderful. Here's a quote again. We started with Carlos Castaneda's book, The Active Side of Infinity, and a quote from his teacher, Don Juan Matus. And here's another one to take us out. You have little time left, and none of it for crap. A fine state. I would say that the best of us always comes out when we are against the wall, when we feel the sword dangling overhead. Personally, I wouldn't have it any other way. So that's my quote. It just ties it all together. Yes. So wake up, everybody. Let's pay attention to what's going on. If you need help, reach out to Daryl. He'll help you. He'll be able to get you to the right place to make peace with all of this, and that's very important. So, Daryl, thank you again for your time tonight. It's been a wonderful evening spent with you, well spent with you.
Definitely.
Pay and Patricia, whatever they're paying you, it's not enough. I'll complain to management.
We love you, Daryl.
Thank you.
That's great. Okay, everybody, we'll be back next week. We are talking about forbidden archaeology. We're going to hear how we devolve. How exciting. Until then, we'll see you on the Blue Highway. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Stop by Lowe's Memorial Day Savings Event and kick off your summer projects early. Now save $10 to $40 off paint, exterior stains, and resurfacers via rebate at Lowe's. And also save $10 on a Troy-built gas trimmer now for just $89. All projects have a starting point. Start with Lowe's. Paint offer valid 5/17 through 5/31. Exclusions apply. Troy-built offer valid 5/10 through 5/15. While supplies last, U.S. only.